All right, people, today we are talking about Citizens Insurance, which is out of the state of Florida. This is what they call the insurer of last resort. And why is it? Well, because it is government run, basically. And it was put into place because a lot of insurance companies and carriers were leaving the state. So we needed to have a solution for some of these homes that are high risk. Well, that's how it started. Now, what is it? They're basically the insurer. Unfortunately, Citizens has taken on so many policies because we have had over 20 carriers leave the state over the last 2 years. So Citizens went through a turmoil, and I have this article here that talks about Citizens depopulation. Now, it sounds like that they are getting rid of policies. And don't get me wrong, they are trying to get rid of policies, and they have gotten rid of some of the policies. But I don't like what they've done because there's someone in here that has paid 300% more on a policy through no fault of their own. So let's talk about it and what exactly is happening that you need to pay attention to. So first and foremost, let's start with Citizens because they're a blessing in a way. Since a lot of insurance companies have left the state of Florida and there's not anyone who will cover homes that are, over 20 years old with a roof that's original and maybe even older homes that have a new roof that has cloth wiring or short-term rentals. I mean, there's so many different examples that I can give you where there are no carriers that will write it except for Citizens. But this article further goes on to say that they had 1.412 1,412,000 policies. And then they sent out these letters. These letters went out, I think, in August and in September. And they got it down to 1.325. So they had almost reduced it by 100,000 policies. Now, it sounds excellent because, they're carrying a lot of the risk for the state of Florida. And now they're carrying less risk, which is great because if a catastrophe happens, if a hurricane strikes, we have a lower probability of a major, problem. Because another thing that this article talks about is that if we do have a major catastrophe like a hurricane and there's a lot more claims than they are budgeting for, then Citizens is able to not only increase the rates for your insurance, but also they can force the other carriers to increase their rates to cover the losses for Citizens. Now, I didn't know about this, so this article is talking about this. I'd have to get more info on the details of that, but basically they're in charge. That's what it sounds like. So it doesn't matter who you're with, whether it's Citizens or Nationwide or, Slide or anyone else. They are able to increase rates for everyone should a catastrophe happen, not just for any reason at all. Now, the thing that they mentioned in this article that then happened was very unfortunate. This letter that they sent out basically said, hey, we found you a new policy. Please switch over. If you don't reply, we will automatically switch you over. And it was intended for people where they're trying to lower the risk. And some of these policies that they found, they were actually 300% more expensive than the current policy. And guess what? People don't read their mail. People don't reply to the mail, or they just forget about it, or it gets lost. I don't know. But there's a few examples that they cite, which basically some people had a $3,000 policy. Then they get this letter from Citizens saying, hey, we found you a new policy, it's $9,000. And obviously the homeowner's like, what is this junk? So they throw it out. And now, since they did not reply, they automatically got dropped by Citizens and moved to this new company. But there's a double whammy here because not only is it 3 times more, but sometimes, and many times, the homeowner does not find out until they get their new escrow adjustment letter from the insurance company. So, I'm sorry, from the mortgage lender. So then, they had a $6,000 discrepancy where the escrow account paid out $9,000. They only had $3,000 in it. And now you not only have to make up that difference, but you have to make up the difference for the next year, so your payment goes up tremendously. So this is one of the big problems, and I highly recommend you stay on top of your insurance situation and know exactly what is happening with it, because not only are they doing this, but also other insurance companies are just raising rates to cover their butt, and you don't want to be caught in the middle of that. When your insurance rates go up, I highly recommend you find out what can you do, what can you improve on your 4-point inspection, and especially on your wind mitigation report to lower that rate. Because there are things, I guarantee you, there are things, if your home is 25 years or older, there's something you can do, whether it's change out your windows, change out your roof, improve your electric panel, get rid of some old copper piping, I don't know. But you need to find out, and you need to dig a little deeper, because these insurance companies are basically making money hand over fist on you because you are not informed. So if you have questions about this, drop a comment. I do reply to every single comment that you guys write. So drop a comment and I will, hook you up with a good insurance agent that can explain it, or maybe I'll just answer your question right away. Now, it does also say that regulators have approved a series of proposals by private insurance to take out additional policies in the month of November and December. So this is interesting. That means that this was just the first phase, and a whole bunch of people, almost 100,000 people, switched over to a different insurance company, including Slide. Slide took just under half of all of those policies. So now Slide might be over leveraged, right? But either way, regulators have approved more of these shifts from Citizens to other companies. But the whole problem here is that Citizens, for some reason, was created, they've been created as an insurer of last resort. And often they charge premiums lower than private insurers. Therefore, that has a lower probability of people actually doing it, of people switching. So it's kind of funny where they're trying to get all these people to switch over, but the only people that end up switching over tend to be the ones that don't pay attention to their mail. So it's really important for you to be on top of that, to pay attention to what's coming in the mail, because they're going to switch you over whether you like it or not. And if it's already starting out like this, I'm pretty sure it's going to get worse. So they're basically preying on people who are just not on top of their mail, and maybe people who are out of country, who live in a different country, and their mail doesn't get forwarded to to wherever they live, and it just gets piled up. And then when they come, every 6 months, it's too late. It's already been switched over. So you may be wondering, why is this a problem? Why is Citizens doing this depopulation program? And hear this. At the end of September 2020, they had 511,000 policies. And then 1 year later, at the end of September 2021, they had 708. That's almost a 50% increase. But then at the end of September 2022, they had 1,071,000 policies, which is almost a 50% increase again. And then now they're down to 1.325, which is a 30% increase, but of course they were at 1.4, which was a 40% increase. So this is just a big burden in case something happens, in case there is a major catastrophe in Florida. They're going to be on the hook for major problems, and at the end of the day, you and I, the owners in Florida, are going to end up paying for everything, including if you're not with Citizens. Yes, the policies will raise with Citizens, but that's not just them. All policies will raise because they need to cover that nut. And since Citizens is government run, and it's protected by legislature, they're never going to be able to leave the state or file for bankruptcy. They're just going to be able to increase the rates until the debt has been paid and they have enough reserves. So that's the problem with Citizens. This is what they're doing. Let's see how it works out in November and December when they try to switch another 200,000 people out of it.